Alright, peace, everybody. Welcome to Movie Understandings. With Brother Low. It's just me. It's always me, right? And Shalom, Sister Kashia. Apologies for the 9 heads up. Usually I do it. I forgot. I totally forgot. So um today we are talking about Princess Mononoke, right? And well, it's an anime, and like for one of the sisters, Sister Akuya, who you don't really know about them, anime is a Japanese cartoon or Japanese animation, and I first got into anime right when I was little, like 10 or whatever. I was like 10, like in sixth grade, well, 10 or 12, and I peace. I used to sneak and watch this Spawn off of HBO, the cartoon, right? And they once had a like a sneak, like a special edition where they had a interview and they were talking about Spawn and its influence with Japanese animation. And I used to, and one of the cartoons, well, anime that they had was Princess Mononoke. And I used to watch, uh, anime on the Sci-Fi Channel, and it had these cool movies like Akira and um, regular Lotus War, Venus Wars, you know. And I got into them because really they weren't like cartoons, but just real mature cartoons, mature animation. They're for grown people, it seemed like. So that's why I got into it. I wasn't so I had to sneak. Like I used to sneak and watch Spawn. And it's funny that I'm talking about Spawn and I'm talking about Princess Mononoke because one of the voice actors that is in Princess Mononoke is Goliath, aka Keith David, and he was also in Spawn, right? You could always know his voice for sure, right? And peace sister Queer, peace sister Deirdre, peace sister Marsha. And anime has always been far out there. It always goes beyond the boundaries and have you think about certain things depending on what you watch. It's not, at least in the golden age, as they used to say. It's not it's not like all Dragon Ball Z and Naruto and things of that nature. It was a lot of grown up situations and interesting things like Ninja Scroll. Boy, that used to be good, right? Um, Layer with messages. Yes, there are a lot of messages because it's a film by Ghibli Studios, and Ghibli is synonymous with masterpieces. You got Spirited Away, Kiki's Journey, and Totoro, and things of that nature. They just, I mean, they get Oscar nods and whatnot. So Ghibli has always been good with movies, anime movies for sure, you know, and wonderful artwork. And here, let's start off with the name, right? Um, Mononoke um, is means vengeful spirit or monster, right? You have to understand about Japanese culture that they have many names for spirits and gods and demons. God is kami or spirit, or one that's synonymous that they use nowadays is yokai, for ghosts and spirits, and another one is bakemono, you know, and whatnot. Um, so there are many names and terms, and this movie not only deals with Japanese folklore. It also deals with Japanese history if you know, if you peep it, right? Basically, Princess Mononoke is just an anime that is a rendition of how the West was lost for us in the States. If you ever seen that documentary series, it's about the native tribes in the US, and it's sort of like this in this anime, if you understand, right? So in order for you to understand that, you have to understand that the Japanese people that you know today in Japan were not the indigenous people of Japan. They weren't. Um, Actually, they were the indigenous people of Japan. Were called um, the Jomon, right? And they were the first peoples of Japan, and all of a sudden they have a new ethnic group that comes along from Korea, which is the Yayoi, you know. Um, and it's amazing because, I used to always, I would watch um, Korean movies and stuff, and I'd be like, you know, ain't Koreans and Japanese the same people? And that was just my speculation, you know. And then come to find out, that's where the Japanese people at one time, their ethnic group actually came from. They came from that part of the region, and yeah, and it's interesting that they came from Korea, and then they invade Korean throughout their history. During the Edo period, well, not the Edo period, but the Sengoku period with Totomi Hideyoshi. He tries to do it, and they also conquer it during the 21st century, like World War I, um, and whatnot. And they hold on to it. They take over after the Joseon period. So of Korea. So that's how you know. But yeah, that's apparently what the I guess the nation, the Yayoi, that's where they come from, right? And they come and whatnot, and then they take over the southern islands of Japan, and then they go into the middle of Japan, and split it off. And so the the ruling kingdom or clan that basically founds empire for the Yayoi is called the Yamato, you know, and they basically moved the Jomon, all the way up to the north, you know, and there's already people from basically um, that part, which is the I gotta really say the name because it's sort of hard. Um, it is it's the Jomon, and then there's the Okost. They come from the northern islands, and trickle down like into Hokkaido, which is the northernmost island, the northernmost big island of Japan. And now, mind you, as the Yamato are basically conquering up Japan, they meet a people called uh, the Amishi. And as you know, in the story, Prince, Ashitaka, he is what? He's an Amishi, you know. And what they do is they basically conquer all the way up into the northern main island of Honshu, which is the main island of Japan. They you know they conquer all the way up north, and the Mishi have very few settlements up there, like you see in the story. that they were conquered like 500 years ago by the emperor, and everybody thinks that the Amishi are no longer there, but they're as they say, in the east, but in real life they were in the north, right? Of northern Honshu, and you have that, and these people will basically make the Jomon and the Host and the Mishi. They will be in all together, and migrate with each other, and Hokkaido, and they'll basically become the people called the Ainu. you know which the Ainu is an ethnic people that's still in Japan, still in northern Hokkaido and whatnot. But like I say, these is basically an imperialism of um, the indigenous people in this movie, and you you see it if you know. Like if you see, Prince Ashitake, he doesn't wear a kimono or anything like that. With like all the rest of the people, he wears different type of clothing. You know, yeah, close. Yeah, I knew it's close, very close. Doesn't have the same meaning. Ainu means human. The Ainu means human, Sister Aquia. Um, so that's what that means. Human, and you always see Prince Ashitaka refer to himself as a human. Yeah, and so you sort of get a message there. You know what I'm talking about. Um, but also Prince Ashitaka also takes on uh, a prince of the Yamata Yamata clan, and his uh, name was Yamato Takeru. You know, and that's basically what he's um, taken upon. And there are many stories about Prince Yamato Takeru, right? Which fits what's going on in Princess Mononoke or Mononoke Hime. That's how you say it in Japan. So that Princess Mononoke is the princess of vengeful spirit of monsters, right? Peace Chief, Peace Baba, Haru. Um, Shemites, Yaphites, and Hamites already. Um, And so also, when you see Ashitaka, you see his sword is different. Like, um everybody has, the famous sword katana. He doesn't have a katana, right? He has what was called Wada Bekato, you know. And that's the a sword that the Amishi use, the real Amishi. And also, you have to understand that the amishi is also synonymous with being horse archers, very good horse archers. And what do you see Prince Ashitaka do? He's just amazing with the bow. He's amazing with the bow. One also you have to understand that the Ainu um, are uh, are hunter type of indigenous people, and they like to hunt bears, and the bear spirit or um is their like high deity, and whatnot. And hmm, also things that are synonymous with the Ainu. Women wear mouth tattoos. You see that in some places in the world, and also men have long beards. Like you see old pictures of the Ainu, they just beard gained up, you know. But one thing that's also interesting about the Ainu is that they look like them people. They look like them people that live in the dream time and go and walk about. You know what I'm talking about? Those the Aborigines of Australia. They give off that type of vibe with them. You know, just a little lighter, just a little lighter. But you know, if you look into the story, because we're dealing with a bunch of folklore and spirits, right? You have the boar spirit that comes to the village, Nago. That's his name, and he's a protector of the forest, right? And the wild boar, he attacks Prince Ashitaka's Amishi village, and it was um, okay, and what he is in that moment is that Nago has turned into Tatarigami, which is a cursed spirit. And you can see it by the 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 tentacles, or the worm like you know um, things in his face, all over his body. He's become a cursed spirit at that moment, where he once was like a boar god, right? He once was a boar god of the region where his clan is from, right? But because Prince Ashitaki takes him down, but he gets wounded by the tentacles of Nago, right? And he meets the wise woman of his village, you know, and she tells well, first, one thing that's interesting is that as the boar is dying, she asks the boar to pass me, please, and we'll build a mound will be raised over where you've died, basically. um in that part of the world, which I've seen, some people are buried in mounds, small mounds, but they're buried in mounds. You see that in Korea, you see that in um China, and also in Japan. Another place where you see mounds is right here right in your own backyard. The biggest mound is in my state of Illinois, in a place that's called Cahokia. You know, so that lets a little bit of something. But yeah, she says, we'll build them on, basically pacifying the spirit of this boar god, right? You know, um, and then she tells, Ashitaka, that his fate from this room is that it's gonna plague his whole body, and then he's gonna die. And he has to go to the land of the West, you know, um, to figure out what's going on and maybe save himself, because that's his fate, that's his destiny. But from here on out, you're no longer, one of us, because of this, and we have to treat you as if you're dead. So basically, he's banished from his tribe, and you see he wears like a top knot. The top knot represents status. He's a prince and things of that nature. Top knot is always a symbol of status and manhood, and things of that nature. And he has to cut it off, meaning that he's letting go of his status and his rank and his culture, in a sense, among the Amishi. And he goes out riding a red elk called Yaku, Yaku. And which is interesting, you know, um, just the red elk. And you're gonna see a lot of deer in this movie, a lot of deer and stags and whatnot, which is cool. But he goes to the land of the West, and which is riddled with war. He sees people, villagers being hunted down by samurai, which he interferes with. And basically, this is supposed to be a rendition of the Warren States period, which I already told you about more than one time. About the Sengoku period. Yeah, it's the Wild Wild West, but you get you actually get your cowboys and Indians this time. you know, in a sense. But you'll see what I'm talking about. And you know, he meets along the way. He meets a monk, which we known as Jigo, right? Now, Jigo also refers to basically folklore among Japanese folklore, and he's um an archetype of a tingle, and a tingle is a spirit. You usually see it in Japanese masks. It's reddened face man with a big nose, right? um and those type of powerful spirits, they usually appear as monks. So that's how and if you look at Jigo, actually has a red nose. You know what I'm saying? It's not as big, it's full, but it's not elongated, but it's still, interesting that nature spirits, or nature uh, mono, Mononoke, are typically referred to as kami. Yes, the Japanese folklore also have so many comedic references, right? G, like I said, it's a bunch of names for them. Kami, bakemono, yokai, mononoke, depending on the time, some time frame. The name changes, but yeah, a lot of kami. you know, and yes, Tengu also depicted in 47 Ronin. Yes, yes. But you also know this by he wears the sandals on his feet, was called Tengu Geta. They're sandals that are synonymous with Tengu. So um, that's how you know what that's referring to, right? But he meets this monk or whatever, and look, I'm gonna be going back and forth like it ain't nothing. Um, he meets this monk, that helps him out, and he saves, men who were ambushed by wolves. My name is Precious, you know, um, and he's led to meet the great forest spirit, right? Um, Also, well, I'll get into the great forest spirit a little bit later. But as you can see, the great forest spirit is what it's a deer with a human like uh face, you know. But they he saves these two men who were ambushed by wolves, who he brings them back to their fortress, which is called Irontown. And what that is synonymous with is basically um throughout the history between like the battle between like the Ainu or the Amishi, um you know um the Japanese clans would set up these forts, along the like the border of Honshu and Hokkaido, basically to keep the Ainu at bay, because they were always warring back and forth, you know almost look like a mandrill. Yeah, you can say that. You can say that, Sister Deidre. Um, and so he meets, the leader of Irontown, which is a woman called Lady Oboshi. And Lady Oboshi, well, first, her name Oboshi is basically the name of a black cat that yeah, a black cat that is very elongated, and you usually see that black cat um with daimyo in Japanese pictures, and that's where her name comes from. But she's basically, she wears, male clothing and wears a top knot, even though it's female, uh, female like, she still wears a top knot. She's very male, well, very masculine for one thing. But she's what they call in Japan, basically she's synonymous with a shirabi oshi, which is a female dancer that's dressed as a man. And one thing that she does as she's building this town is that she buys up um the contracts for prostitutes, prostitute contracts for girls that work in brothels. Yes, she was cold. Um, then Mishi used to give them hell with horseback archery, which those heavily armored summer. Yeah, yeah, they did. They, like I say, the the bows of that, of that region are very interesting because they're very long, very long and a little bit thin. It's not, and then you have to, draw it back on horseback, this long bow or whatever. And he meets her, and he basically, he's told the tale of how, on Boshi's name, as leprosy is historical, as a divine affliction due to sin, which is a whitening of the skin. Yes, Chief. Leprosy is, well, okay. So I got to fast forward a little bit. So he tells, Lady Boshi why he's here, right? And he shows her his hand, because the affected wound, or the affected part, is spreading on his hand first, right? And so she takes him to where the well, the I want to say Garden of the Lepers, but no, well, her secret place, right? Which she has these lepers that are basically making um, guns, they're rifles for him, and they're covered in white, they're covering, because leprosy is very affectionate of the skin, it's not cool, you know. And while they're doing that, they're very nice people, but they're working, on rifles, and whatnot. And one of the lepers, who he can't even work no more. He just lays down, He's like, don't be so hard on Lady Oboshi. She's the only one that um accepts us when everyone turns us away. So please, for us, don't judge her too harshly. Um yes, white skin to be closer to the venom. Yeah, yeah. And here you have, you know, lepers who have a divine affliction due to whitening of the skin. So you see sort of where they get it from in that sense. Whereas in the West, leprosy is evil affliction, right? So you understand the difference of the two in that sense. And but he also learns, how Nago, um, or why he why Nago attacked this village? Because he was attacked by the people of Irontown, and they shot him. You know, with this iron ball. Um, they represent the blind servant class of an industrial nation. Deep cues in there about economics and big industry, deforestation versus nature. Yes, Chief, I was just getting into it, but I wanted to get into a little bit more historical facts because but yeah, it is about deforestation and industrialization. That's why I say it's the Wild West, and that's only to give you an example of what happened. It's the same thing that happened here, with the building of the industrialization of railroads and mining and things of that nature. Because historically, what's going to be found in Hokkaido in Ainu territory is gold, and that's going to bring more miners in, and later on. But that's going to be a problem, and that's going to have a very devastating effect, like gold and oil did to the indigenous people here. You know, um, and so you know one thing Lady Oboshi asked, to keep, Ashitaka to help them kill the great forest spirit, which he's not going to do because he's the Amishi. But one thing you can see about um Ashitaka is he's basically a person of the land in the sense that he understands and reveres the great boar spirits. Even when he meets Nago, he doesn't just shoot him off top. He asks him to please leave us in peace. He basically prays to him first. Before he starts to fight him. You know, but he says that he's come to this part of the world to basically see with un, un unhated eyes, you know, which basically saying, I've come to witness something. Lady Oboshi made use of a lot of marginalized people who gladly give up on their previous lots in life to serve her. Yeah, you can see that with the women. She bought up basically the brothel contracts, which at that point, historically there have been brothel contracts, in the East, that you had to pay, by yourself. Somebody bought your contract, but and she used the women to be basically um to work the bellows of the iron forging, right? They pull, and as they're pulling, they use their legs to basically bellow the oxygen into the forge. Ashitaka means the bright tomorrow. Again, an interesting reference based on his role. If you can see it from a national perspective, yes, I can see that, Chi, because um, you know, Japan is the place of the rising sun, but the Yayoi were considered to be the people of that sun. So the brightness of tomorrow, yeah, I can understand. That's why I say, he's also uh, uh, his character also takes from that Yamato prince, Yamato Takeru, in that sense, because of that, and so like I say, she used the women, who are, you can tell they feministic in view, they call men idiots and whatnot, but they still rely on them, you know, and whatnot. But so you see also Ashitaka's first option is always diplomacy. Yeah. Um, uh, I always liked the fact that he was capable in battle but refused to fight unless it was necessary. Yeah. Um, sometimes, just fighting the battle is not always the first option. The first option should be at least to try to fight without fighting, which you can do through diplomacy, try to talk it out, and resolute the resolute the conflict, through without violence, which he tries to do more than one time in this movie, you know. And but you see San, which we know is Princess Mononoke, but her name is San. She attacks Irontown with two wolves, two white wolves, you know. Um and white wolves are considered deities, you know. Um and they're called um Inugami, which is dog, spirit or whatever. But even though Inu means dog, they that they're talking about wolves, not dogs, you know. But wisdom is the greatest strength, as Shifa said, right? And so she attached with these two white wolves, and she gets trapped in Irontown, but it's Ashitaka that saves her because she's fighting with Lady Eboshi, and he knocks both of them out, with the strength that he's gotten from the cursed wound on his arm. It's going to eat his body up, but it's also going to give him great strength. You know, and so he literally walks out the front gate with San, right? Whereas, you know, they're shooting him. He actually gets shot. He gets shot by one of them. And one thing you can also take from the weaponry that they're using Chinese like guns at the time. That's what the Chinese guns look like. They were these long poles, and you had like a little cannon like um barrel, and then you put the powder in, you blow it up that way, and then you see the new age weapons that Lady Eboshi is making. It's it's sort of like a rifle bazooka because it's on the shoulder, but it's matchlock or flintlock in the sense where you have the trick, the flint, and you have to pull the trigger for basically to light the powder and things of that nature, and shoot the gun. But interesting that they're they're with San too, because San means three. Yeah, Ichni San. um and she was the third cup of Moro. Interesting racial um reference again. Double meaning for song. Yeah. But also, Chief, it's interesting racial reference because I'm gonna get into it later. But San wears a mask. You always see she wears, like um a mask with wolf fur. Well, if you look at that mask, it's it's taken from um, the mask of the Asaro people or the Holasa people of Papua New Guinea. And we already know that those people in Papua New Guinea are melanin rich dominated people. So yeah, but the creator got it from a manga called Mudmen, which the Asaro people are called Mudmen. But it comes from a manga called Mudmen. He got that idea from it. And also the tattoos that she wear also from the Asaro or the Halassa people. And Halassa means ghost tribe. And what are you dealing with? She's the princess of um she's the princess of the vengeful spirits or the ghosts. Um, San also is like saying Mister, hmm or Mrs. too. Um, it is a reference of honor. Um, the gumbo thickens. Yeah, they usually say it at the end of your name. Ashitaka-san. You know, um, or things of that nature. But it's always at the end. Or what they like to call honorifics. You don't Daniel-san, yeah, sand the floor. you know, show me paint the fence. No, Danielson, I always look I. you know. But yeah, they in Eastern culture there are things called honorifics, and you use those honorifics, when you meet elder people or people few years older than you, or things of that nature. You know, um, just out of respect of their age or sense of that nature. And sign is synonymous with that. That's right, Chief. you know. Um, and so, he goes back and he wounds and gets knocked out. One thing you could say about those wolves is the one Mortal. Mortal has is a wolf, but she has two tails, and usually one spirit that is synonymous with is a fox spirit or a kitsune in Japanese, or a gumio in Korea. I forget the Chinese. I forget the Chinese name for it, but usually a fox spirit usually has more than one tail, depending. They a tail grows every 100 years, and it basically gives them more power and things of that nature. And usually the greatest, the most powerful kitsune is a nine-tailed fox. You always see that. You see that in many folklore or TV shows about a kitsune or gumio or nine-tailed fox gumio. These giant foxes, fox spirits and whatnot that eat your liver and things of that nature. They're always beautiful. Sometimes they're synonymous with females, being that nature and whatnot. And you see the reason why they call them vixens and things of that nature. You could go way down the line with that. When you refer to the fox spirit, I thought of Kurama. Yeah, Kurama. Um, what's another one? Or look, or you could think of Naruto. What did he have in him? He had a fox demon. He had a nine-tailed fox. He had a kitsune sealed in his body. you know, so that's one. That's another one, brother Antonio. But I know you would know. you know, the mask also looks like a Dogu statue from the Jomon people, who the Ainu and the Mishi descended from. Yeah, and it was featured in the movie Chiefs, Chariot of the Gods. Yeah, yeah, I know that movie. Yeah, Kurama. Yes, the nine tails kitsune. They possess women through their breasts. Yeah, well, I'll shut up now. All right, so the Great Forest Spirit saved his life, and um, a lot of things are happening in this forest because you know the Boar clan, the one that comes from yes, taken by the Tatas. Yes, brother Antonio. Yes. Anyway, But the Boer clan comes down from their region, which is basically in the mountains, not where the great forest spirit reigns, but in another region. And they come down because they want to wage war, and they come with one of their old elders called Okoto, and he's played by Keith David. I love me some Keith David. Homie be in these Lego cartoons. I grew up with it. We live again. Okay, but he says, "Hey, we're raging war," and basically, Sanj and trying to talk him out of it, but they're like, "We don't care. We're still going to wage war," and they're disgruntled because Nogo was not saved, you know. And they was like, well, why didn't great, forest spirit save Nogo? I mean, he was beautiful. He was this, he was that, this. And, it's messed up, But you see that, the great forest spirit has the power to give life and take it away, you know. And he chooses to save who he wants, or it choose to say, peace Ricochet, choose to say who it wants, but you have also you have Ashitaka talking to Moro, you know, and we find out that Ashitaka is in love with San and wants to spend his life with her and marry her or whatever, and Okoto Nishi means board, board tribe, and Nishi means owner or guardian. Yeah, see, already like I say, brother and son, it's there, and we also see the great battle where San tries to help the Boar clan, because they're blinded by their rage or uh, hatred. They can't see that there's a trap that's going down, from Irontown. Irontown's also being basically besieged because a lord, like I said, this is the time of feuding lord. So a lord called Lord Asano wants the ironworks and the iron of Irontown, but Lady Eboshi is not giving it away. Who and Jigo tells, Jigo sides with, Lady Eboshi, him and his warriors or his hunters side with Lady Eboshi, and they're all dressed like monks in a sense, but they're riflemen as well. And we see, Ashitaka going to, the battlefield to warn Lady Eboshi because Lord Asano is sieging um, Irontown. And all that's left in the people that's left in Irontown are the lepers and the women. And they're holding it off, but they're at the inner wall, of Irontown, but they're being besieged while the men and everybody else are fighting the boars, and trying to hunt the great forest spirit. Also, what you need to know about the um, great forest spirit is you see his deer form, but also he has another form, um, which they call the Night Watcher, right? This giant, um, luminous being, that's clear, but basically comes out between, the dawning and the night, where the moon is shining, and it's not night, it's not day, but that's when he comes out. And the word that's synonymous with the Night Watcher is a Dedarabochi, a Dedarabochi. And it's basically a giant, big giant spirit. It is said that it was a Dedarabochi that made Mount Fuji, what I'm saying? And but you sort of understand where that comes from. Like I said, it's a lot of Japanese folklore. And you know, so they're trying to hunt the forest spirit because the emperor said, if you hunt this spirit, because he wants to live forever, you know. Um, and it said if you drink the blood of of the great forest spirit, you can live forever. But like I say, you can see the deforestation and the imperialist or colonial mindset of this time because of it. And so while they're messing with the boards, Ashaka goes to warn Lady Oboshi, and then you see Lord Okoto. He's just wounded, from the mines and basically the rifles, that 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 went off in the battle. I mean, it looks like honestly, it looked like he was about to have his guts was going to spill out, because he's so bloody. You know what I'm saying? Yes, the emperor was offering a mountain of gold for his immortality. Yes. Um, but he's trying to make it to basically the center of the force, or the the realm of the great forest spirit. Also, because I didn't say it, but the little tree spirits were also taken by the Asaro people, right? At least the look of them. But like I said, the tree spirits were also synonymous with how healthy the forest looks. And you can also look at like today, because I remember how Chief used to say, "Don't no spirits live in these trees here." And if you ever look at trees around where you live or anything, they if you pay attention, don't they look kind of like dead trees and spiritless? You know what I'm saying? They don't look healthy. The forests don't look healthy here. That's something you could take for that. Yes, Murasaki was definitely going in on the post World War II industrial matrix. That was destroying the nature-based culture of his country. Such a beautiful way to speak on it. Yeah. Because the Mishi, the Anu, they were very naturalist in their culture. But here you have, you know, especially in World War II and especially during the Meiji era, because realistically, the Edo period are going to try to subjugate the Ainu, but also the Meiji era is also going to do it, and basically they're going to try to assimilate the Ainu and things of that nature, and outlaw their culture and way of life. You know, synonymous basically what happened here. You had native people getting sent to these reform schools and whatnot, and having to learn English and don't speak Indian, taking um American names. And it's the same thing with the Ainu. They had to learn Japanese and take Japanese names and things of that nature. They had to assimilate just like here, and you see it, in this movie. And so because Okoto, he's basically out of his mind at this point. You know, Even the boar around him are not boar; they're hunters. That's trying to hunt the great boar spirit, but they wear the hides of the boar clan that were fighting with Okoto, and he's like, charge, charge to the forest spirit, and they follow him. And while that's happening, he's becoming, a cursed spirit at the time. And because of that, San gets trapped in those tentacles of his body, as he becomes a cursed spirit, or a tatarigami, as I said before. And so, Ashitaka tries to save San, you know, and Moro also tries to save San because she's dying from the wound that she took being shot. But um the forest spirit, sees um Okoto and goes to Okoto. Um and it takes the life of Okoto and Moro, but it gets shot by Aboshi through the neck. But it seems like it doesn't do nothing to to the forest spirit, right? He still walks on, and the forest spirit walks on water, and whatnot. Very light being, right? And so after that, um, as the period of night and day comes begins, the great forest spirit begins its transformation into the night watcher. And as that happening, um Eboshi basically shoots again and basically whips the head off of the great forest spirit. Then it becomes a dang on problem because they take the head, they put it in like an iron, uh a circular iron casing. I'll just say casing, and they run off with it. Chigo and them. And because of that, the Night Watcher has no head. So um it literally engulfs the forest, and basically the forest begins to die. you know and it starts to cover the whole forest. And then not only does it cover the forest, it covers Irontown and engulfs Irontown, and just decays it. And Ashitaka has to warn Irontown and tell them to go into the lake, because it's not going to spread towards the lake. And that's what happens. And then him and San are on a race to go to Jigo and them to get the head back. And Jigo don't want to get the head back, so they got to fight Jigo and them to get the head back. And you see that the curse that was rotting Ashitaka body is also rotting San's body because of Okoto, right? And after they done fighting Jigo and them, he relents, because it's causing so much devastation. Was an interesting representation of chaos without a head to direct it. Yeah, it was. It was a good rendition of that when you just have the body, and the body doesn't bring forth the life, but it just takes away everything. And might I add on, because I didn't talk about them, look, all the while this is happening, throughout the movie, you got the ape tribe. I gotta show love to the apes because they are basically the gardeners of the forest. They plant the trees and everything, and they have they're mad at the humans. They mad at the wolves. Like y'all, but we plant trees and y'all keep on ruining them up. Messing up our job. They just mad throwing sticks at everybody and whatnot. But that says something. You know, um like the baby without the daddy and the mama. Thank you, Chief. That's a good that's a good example as well. Um, some there's always been saying cut off the head and the body will fall, but not in this. You cut off the head, the body's going to decay and kill everything because it doesn't have the head or whatever. But yeah, I couldn't help but think about the head or the consciousness is necessary for chaos destruction to be directed. Yeah, even I would say even in your biblical stories, is that not what Yah does? He directs the chaos. Let's let there be light. That's out of chaos. Let it be light. Okay. Now let's separate the waters from this. Let's need land. Let's make man in our own image. Come on, come on, we can do it, right? you know. But yeah, you have that. But they off, they get the head and they offer the head back to the the body, um, which as they're doing it, the the curse is eating away at both of their bodies, all over their faces and whatnot. But the head is returned, and as and the Nine Watcher vanishes, But as the sun rises, the force comes back alive, you know. Um, and it starts to become green again and things of that nature. And then you see, Sana and the Ashitaka parts ways because Ashitaka is going to help those in Irontown. And Sana's like, well, I can't forgive them, and I don't like humans like that. So I'm going back into the forest. And he's like, okay, well, I'll visit you when I can. But he goes back, and Irontown's like, this time we'll make a better Irontown than the last one. The stubbornness of industrialization, trying to win over nature, manifest destiny. See, manifest destiny. you you got manifest destiny in this day. Go, just thought about it. you know. We'll build stronger Irontown. They're not going to give up. Nobody learns. It's like nobody learned the lesson. From all this destruction. Okay, we're just going to build a better and stronger one. It's like, don't y'all know to live? Live with nature, live with the land, become people of the land. But nobody learns the lesson. We're just going to build a stronger Irontown. Which, like I say, that's pretty much what what they did. They built stronger forts, had stronger weapons. Like they'll fight. The Japanese will fight the Ainu again, but even though the Ainu, like many indigenous people, they never involved their weaponry, and so when got bow versus a gun, what's gonna win, you know, and even if it's not repeater guns, in a sense where you can fire shots, it's not semi-automatic, no semi-automatic or early stages of semi-automatic. It's just flintlock, matchlock rifles, where you gotta stuff the powder in, get the ball. It takes a long time, and this is like 1800s or whatever. So yeah, but that's what it's that industrialization that they couldn't adapt to, that causes not the destruction but the subjugation of the people, and like here you see the same thing. It's the weaponry, the dependence, the dependence on foreign goods, because that's another thing. The Ainu depended very much on the trade goods of um, the Japanese, or basically the ruling clan of of that region. They depend on the iron, trade goods and whatnot. They depended on that, So that tells you a lot of how the basically how that can destabilize a people, you know. Um, could it be said that Ashitaka represents righteousness as well? Just thinking about how his right arm was cursed and he was directed to see with unclouded eyes, well, eyes unclouded by hate. Yeah, I would say Ashitaka represents righteousness because all throughout the movie, like you said, brother Antonio, he's diplomatic. He respects nature and the spirits of nature. So he's of course a righteous being. He's not moved by rifles and money and things like look, if you see in the movie, he buys rice and he buys rice with a gold nugget. Like it's is this enough? He doesn't know the value of a gold nugget. It's just something that comes out the ground. You see, like I say, sometimes you see that with indigenous people. Whereas the Eastern, well, not the Eastern, but the Western, mind. If we're going New World, they would see these people wearing gold earrings or gold, um, gold around their neck or whatever, and they'd be like, "Oh, this is valuable." But to them, it's like, yeah, it's just something to wear. Keep the change. Exactly, keep the change. He didn't know what it was. He didn't know the monetary value. He didn't know. He didn't care. He's just like, is this enough? And like Jigo tells him, man, that's enough to make for 5 bags of rice. And well, four. I think he said four. 4 bags of rice, and he said, nah, I don't care about that. He doesn't go back to get 4 bags of rice. He's not greedy. It's just him. He's like, I keep the change. I don't care. you know. So yeah, you could say that he represents righteousness. You know. Um. Also, another word for spirit. I know. Chief said kami. Another one is kamui. Kamui is another word for spirit. But among like the Ainu, and whatnot, they refer to their spirits as kamui. Kamui, Kamui. There's even a dang on anime called Golden Kamui. Never watched it, but it deals with also the Ainu and treasure and Japanese army and things of that nature. But yeah, um, but that's the end of the movie. And for some particular reason, I don't know why. Maybe why do I want to say that? Um, at least in the version I watched, Ashitaka was able to go back to his village with San. Why do I want to say that? Sometimes you watch different versions and the ending's different, and I swear he goes back to his village and meets his sister again and goes back with something. Don't quote me on that, but yeah. So that's the end. But like I say, it's a lot. You like I say, you got a lot of folklore. You have a lot of history in this one, and you if you don't know, you won't catch it. But like I say, it's just very interesting that um this whole movie is basically the history of Japan. Basically it's basically the history. You know what I'm saying? You can say that the parting of Ashitaka and San are the parting of like of those Amishi or those Ainu that stay in the mainland of Honshu and things of the nature, and those that leave for Hokkaido. You can also say that because that's what I thought about. Like San is the one, is the representation of those that like go to Hokkaido and get away from the Japanese and Ashitaka is like the ones that actually stay and assimilate and immigrate, with those people. Could say that, but yeah, you know, that's like I said, that is a lot. That is a lot, and you know, it like the subjugation of the Ainu, goes into a lot. You know what I'm saying? Oh, there's no problem, Aki Antonio. Look, bro, I'm like I said, I'm glad you brought it. Request this for those who don't know, brother Antonio. Request this movie, and it's a masterpiece, man. It's good. It's good. You know what I'm talking about. Um, and from the music to the animation, even usually, English dubbing is not always good unless you got professional voice actors. But here you actually got actors, Claire Danes, Keith David, Jada Pinkett Smith, as voice actors. So it was good, it was good, So it's it's very very good anime, man. It's very good anime, But um, great choice. One of my yeah. Thank you. Oh, no problem. Sham the joy. You know what I'm saying? The visuals and background work. Exactly. I used to love the visuals, especially with the Night Watch. I love, the the visuals of the Night Watcher. It looks so cool to me. Yeah, Billy Bob Thornton is in this, and whatnot. Um, but yeah, you know, but I never got, something you just take at, I always saw Prince Mononoke as outworldly, but I never thought of it as a historical standpoint of, the subjugation of a people, and things of that nature. I never thought about that. I never thought that, that was something that just happened here, you know, which we all know very well. Some of us come from that, um, those tribes, and how, the French or the British or the Spanish, subjugated those people and made them assimilate in some form or way, and things of that nature, and wanted their land and the natural resources in it, and wheeled and dealed and scammed and schemed and killed and whatnot for it, and whatnot, and the indigenous people could not adapt to the situation to put it in their favor. But I never thought of something similar happening in Japan, which was very interesting for me. You know what I'm saying? And then here we talk about horse archers. And brother Antonio, do you know that one of the islands, like one of the northern islands, it starts with an S, but it's basically a Russian island, but it was also inhabited by Mongols, and the the Ainu used to go to that island to conquer it, it's Northern Island or whatever. And then Sheshikin, what I forget the island's name. But yeah, it was inhabited by Mongols. And look, our horse archers versus horse archers, what I'm saying? And they was always at a at a draw or a standstill. But later, with the Mongols coming in and whatnot, they'll push the Amishi or the Ainu back, back into Hokkaido. But they also tried to immigrate into other islands, um, besides the islands of Japan, on the mainland, near China and Russia, But yeah, so my favorite Miyazaki quote: "Sometimes children have to be shown something incomprehensible so that when they get older, they'll understand." This was the first anime, my first anime, and it definitely set the standard. No consequences. Yeah, I would. Interesting. This film was 95% hand drawn. Yeah. When they brought it to the US, the studio tried to edit, and the Japanese producer mailed them a samurai sword with a no that said no cuss. Yeah, get them with that Takahashi Tatagami. Dang, what's Tatahagani. Tatahagani steel. I had to remember. Yeah, bring it with that that Japanese steel, no cuts, cuz get you with that one body sword, you know what I'm talking about. But they know that, about that Mongol connection. Yeah. If you like this style or film, you might like the Tales of Genji. Yeah. It read I read it years before the movie, but the film has a similar spirit. The book is considered by some to be the world's oldest book. To tell a Genji, hmm. Well, by whose standards? Whose standards says exactly. She see, it took me a minute because I still want to be a katana with tomahawk steel. You know what I'm talking about? Folded more than one time. You know what I'm talking about? One by the sword, two by the sword. Depending on who makes it. Um, and I still love watching people make katanas, and I just like blacksmithing and people making swords regardless. You know what I'm talking about? I love you some swords. So yeah, already, it's not a true katana if it ain't Tamahagani. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. But yeah, Telegenji, good mythology. Um, so yeah, um, we're definitely checking it out. Sword of the Stranger was a good film. Yes, Sword of the Stranger was a good film. Sword of the Stranger. See, like I say, grown. See, Sister Queen. These are some grown up cartoons. Sword of the Stranger. Like I say, look, one Akira, Ghost in the Shell. Even though it got live action version, skip the live action version. I say just watch the anime. You know what I'm saying? The anime, they got more than one TV show for Ghost in the Shell, let alone, you know, Record of Lotus War. That was always good for what Chief talked about with the, I want to say classes, but like the warrior, the priest, the magician, and the hunter or the rogue or the thief. You see that in Record of Lotus War. And you see that in a couple of anime TV shows. Um the Tales again just 1,300 pages. I would love for an anime version of that. It was a great read. I would have dang go. Yeah, I would say that. I would have dang on the animated version of, even though they've done it, they've never done it to the fullest. But I want to dang on anime version, like a real good anime version of Romance of the Dang on Three Kingdoms. That's what I want. I mean, but also, I think I would probably also want an anime version of a Chinese book or series called which I actually have a audio book of, Legend of the Condor Heroes. Like I'm getting into that. I watched the TV show, and it was good, but the book is very more interesting. They call Legend of the Condor Heroes like the Lord of the Rings for China, but you know. So yeah, man, there's so many good anime, man. She broke down a few. Death Note, Leader Battle Angel, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, Gundam. For those of us, that used to watch Toonami and whatnot, Gundam Wing, Gundam Double O, that all has to do with child soldiering and war, man. I mean, bro, and I used to love, man. I still love Gundam, because it deals with, like I say, deals with child soldiering and all that whatnot, man. Yeah, they ruined Ghost in the Shell. I still have never seen it. And I used to have the DVD to Ghost in the Shell. Like I had that and Akira. Like I had well, I think I had the 10 version DVD of Akira. You know what I'm talking about? I got them. I mean, I went down south to get. That's how I got. Used to get a lot of anime. I was down south, man, and they didn't know what they had, but I knew what they had, and they would just sell these anime movies for cheap, and I would just Ghost in the Shell, got it. Cowboy Bebop, got it. They didn't know. They still don't know. You can go down south and get a bunch of these DVDs for like nothing. So yeah, but yeah, they ruined Ghost in the Shell. Yes, Gurren Lagann. I'm a piss the heavens with my drill, which is good. Gurren Lagann is a good one. Samurai Champloo is another one, but we probably all like Samurai Champloo because it has hip hop in it. You know what I'm saying? It has hip hop and rap, and you just be nodding your head the whole time. You know what I'm saying? Even the dang on the battle cry, you know what I'm saying, which is the opening theme for Samurai Champloo. Some days, some nights, you just be, bruh, just be bobbing your head like, yeah, this, you know, um, yeah, yeah, new. Well, I never could say his name, but yeah, man. I remember when homie died. Man, the last type of anime I was on was G Force and Robotech. Robotech is good. I like Robotech. Robotech, but see, you gotta understand, Robotech is two versions. There's Robotech and then there's Macross. You know, same thing but different versions. It's weird, but Robotech is good, which shows she look. She was way older than me. She was way older than me, but he's able to remember G Force and Robotech. And I know he probably watched Speed Racer. So yeah, but we'll catch look we'll catch you up on anime. We'll start you off slow. We ain't gonna get you into like the shonen and well, shonen is the long anime that's still ongoing and whatnot. You know, we'll we'll start. Yes, Vampire Hunter D. That is also a good one. Like I say, grown up. You know, um, Vampire Hunter D. Um, But we'll start you off with some good look. You got more than one youngin in here that likes anime or whatnot. Um, and we'll recommend you some good ones. You know what I'm saying? I know I like VHD. What's VHD? Oh, Vampire Hunter D. Okay. Yeah, Vampire Hunter D is good. Um Johnny Quest? Yeah, Johnny Quest took from the anime world or whatever, but I never considered Johnny Quest an anime, because it was already a cartoon, but way before my time. But you know, um, oh, Afro, oh yeah, she did do something on Afro Samurai. you know, Afro Samurai was good. Space Ghost, yeah. Herculoids, yeah. Hunt. I know brother Antonio is always gonna be bigging up Hunter X Hunter, which I can't blame him. Hunter X Hunter is good. Um, um, I didn't realize then it was an anime. Yeah, you could sort of tell from the style. Anime has its own style. Um, Voltron will be considered an anime. You know, it takes from that style. You know what I'm saying? Okay, one that I know nobody's pretty much seen, but I love this one. It's called Legend of the Galactic Heroes, bruh. It's a long space opera, but it's good. It's about space and war and fighting and that. It's and politics and war and tactics and but in space. That's one. Legend of the Galactic Heroes. Um, what else? I already said Akira. Um, let's see. This heard of and never seen. Oh yeah, it's long. It's you gotta look up to see Legend of the Galactic Heroes, man. But I was able to do it. But yeah, there's Dororo. Dororo is good. It's like came out 3 years ago. That one's on Amazon. Look, if you go on Amazon, oh bro, Amazon dang on Prime. Okay, Amazon Prime got some good anime if you pay attention. One is called Vinland Saga. It's about Vikings and England and whatnot. I actually got the manga, a few volumes of manga when it comes to Vinland Saga. Vinland Saga is good. The manga and the show. That came out like 2 years ago. Vinland Saga. Um, that's one I can recommend for sure. One of my is an anime freakazoid. That's how I saw Death Note and others. Yeah, see, what I'm saying. Look, I mean, it's so many, and I think the problem. now when it comes to that is that there's so many that come out every season, and it's not like back, well, it's not like back in the day when you had to look up to see anime, because it wasn't even before Toonami and all that. You had to really look up and watch these movies. You know what I'm saying? I looked up, and every Saturday, 12 o'clock, I would watch an anime movie on Sci-Fi Channel, and you really had to look up if you could see anime on the premium channels like Cinemax and Showtime, because they none didn't show on HBO, but like Wicked City and Demon City Shinjuku and bro, things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? You I saw food clips from Bill and Son. Yeah, Villain Saga's good. But shoot, you can't get, you can't watch that. I mean, like I say, the manga's also good. The manga for Villain Saga has been good. Um, like I'm four or five volumes in, and it's good. You know what I'm saying? It teaches you something about warriorhood and things of that nature, and whatnot. But I even like the whole Gaussian blur on the lady ones, and the darker tone. Yeah. See, they have man. They used to have a darker tone when it came to anime, which would made it good. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you a kid. You can you could trick your parents, like you watching cartoons and you really ain't watching cartoons. you know, I'm not really watching anything I was supposed to watch, but I'm sneaking. But you can't tell because you just think it's a cartoon. See? So yeah. But okay. So next strong, we are doing the game from Netflix. And that's what we on next week. And that's what I'm interested in. It's another thriller. You know what I'm saying? And we gonna see what that's about. Because it ain't about that game. It ain't about that game, but it's about the game. you know, because that game's supposed to be, it's to be sold, not to be told. Ain't that right? But anyway, yeah, I saw both. The 1999 version was more faithful to the manga, but I pretty much like them both for their own reasons. Man, Saturday at 12, I was watching Godzilla Mothra. Or I saw flip on the mattress. See, black girls already. You know what I'm talking about. But next strong, we on the game. So give thanks everybody. Ooh, okay. Shout out to Sister Deirdre. She came out with another video like 2 hours ago. She's interviewing another woman in the health industry. So I want to give her props. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so give thanks everybody, and thanks for coming out. Remember that we got Shema New tomorrow, so we'll get into that. Yeah, those springs. I've never. I didn't do it. I used to jump on them, but I didn't do it. I didn't do it. But yeah. Um. So um, give thanks everybody, and I will see you next strong for the game. you know. Okay, I believe. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. Okay, so give thanks everybody, and peace.